Victory Monday is here, Chiefs fans. After the victory over the Las Vegas Raiders, the Chiefs are now 8-3 as they sit second in the AFC, just behind the Baltimore Ravens. But don't fret, the Ravens are on bye this week, and if the Chiefs can come up victorious this Sunday on Sunday Night Football against the Packers, well then guess what? The Chiefs will be back in first place. But for now, let's get 800 likes on this video for the Chiefs' 8th win of the season. We got to keep this rolling. We got 500 for win 5. We got 600 for week 6. We got 700 for win number 7. Now let's get 800 for win number 8 right here on the Chiefs Report. "31-17 was your final score yesterday, but that's not how the game started. In fact, the Raiders were out front 14-0 early. And I'm going to be honest, I was getting a little scared. I was thinking this is not good. Is this how this ends? How exactly are the Chiefs going to come back from this? But in typical Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid fashion, they pulled it out. The good news is they win. The bad news is the injuries, well, they were piled up. But Rashee Rice finally got his time to shine. 8 receptions, 107 yards, and a touchdown. Mahomes just under 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pacheco, 15 carries, the 2 touchdowns for my boy Pop. Super glad to see him, and I like that kind of workhorse back given Jerick McKinnon was out. And then this Raiders offense was pretty hot in the first quarter, which is kind of typical from what we've seen from them this entire season. But the Chiefs defense, they put the clamps on the Raiders coming up in that second half. Now, there is some injuries to talk about here on a couple of players that Andy Reid noted both last night and this morning. So Skyy Moore had a left knee injury yesterday. He did play through it for the most part, caught out for a couple plays, went in for a couple plays, kind of just an aggravating issue, but in terms of severity, it seems pretty light. Donovan Smith, Andy Reid labeled it as a stinger. He got hit and then immediately came out. He kind of was on one knee yesterday. You could see he was in some discomfort, but overall, he was relatively fine. Came back in, played a little bit in the second half, played a little bit throughout the rest of the game. It was labeled as a stinger, though, and just kind of monitoring that. And then Trey Smith had a foot injury. Here's the good news. Andy Reid said that all 3 of these guys should be good to go by Sunday. You're going to get Monday off today. You're going to get Tuesday off tomorrow, and then they'll be back at practice on Wednesday. We'll see what the injury designations are for those 3 guys, along with some other names that we're going to talk about here later in the show. But overall, the injuries are very minor, and hopefully we're going to have a full-strength Chiefs squad this Sunday against the Packers. We talked about him at the start. Let's talk about him some more. Rashee Rice, wide receiver 1. Did we finally see that? Well, I think we definitely did. 107 yards, had the touchdown, and we think we saw what exactly he is capable of here with the Kansas City Chiefs. We've been talking about him from day one. We've kind of seen him just have these little flickers, these flashes of, oh, he could be the wide receiver 1. Oh, he could do this. But there's been problems with drops. There's been problems with route running. But guess what? That was all put to bed yesterday. Besides the vertical routes, we didn't see too much vertical movement from Rashee. There was a couple screens, including a drop, which I will say was not the greatest. Also wasn't the greatest pass, though, so kind of a double whammy there on Patrick and Rashee. Still, 107 yards is nothing to fret about, and that was one of the best performances. In fact, it was the best performance by a Chiefs wide receiver, not named Travis Kelce, this entire season. So, given that Kelce is necessarily not a wide receiver, is Rashee Rice the wide receiver 1 here on the Chiefs? We've kind of asked this question a lot. I think yesterday he really showed how he can be that wide receiver 1. If he is, well, I want you to let me know in today's comment section by typing RR for Rashee Rice. Listen, we love that Rice. We love that Rice Bowl, and I'm telling you, he looks really dang good. Hopefully he can continue this, and here's the good news. You got to look at the schedule. It looks pretty good. Plus, Mahomes, well, he certainly likes Rashee. Now, what do I mean by that? How does Mahomes like him? We've seen Mahomes talk praises of pretty much every receiver. He's talked about Justin Watson. He's talked about Justin Ross. He's talked about freaking Rashee Rice. He said this after the game yesterday, saying, I think we've only scratched the surface. I think you see us hitting him kind of around the line of scrimmage, but you saw the one down the sideline. I think he can do some of the vertical threat stuff. He has speed. He has burst. And you can see all of that when he has the football in his hands. So let's start working him in and getting him more opportunities. It's hard when defenses play us like this, and we put some deep crosses and stuff in where defenses are settling back, and I go underneath. But I think he has a chance to be a great receiver in this league. We're going to continue to push him to be that receiver. Now, this is nothing new to Chiefs fans because we've kind of been waiting for this from Rashee Rice. We've been saying it's coming. It's just going to be time. We've got to see him coming here. But I think the reason it happened yesterday and the reason we saw this from Rice, well, it was the injuries, to be quite honest. I don't want to say that those are good. I don't want to say that those were necessarily a good thing, but those injuries were somewhat needed in kind of the way you think about it because you saw the injuries just take out some of the Chiefs wide receivers, which from there on out, guess what? It required some people to step up, and Rashee Rice certainly stepped up to the plate, not only just with the way he caught the ball, the way he kind of managed this offense, and overall just kind of his feel, his motion throughout the game. I like what I saw, and I think the biggest thing, he was very confident in everything he did, which is something that we have not seen from Chiefs wide receivers throughout this entire season, and I like that. Now, before we get into the next part of the video, I want to give a huge shout out to a brand new sponsor here on the Chiefs Report, Factor Meals. And if you use our code ChiefsChat50, you are going to get 50% off. This holiday season, you might be looking for nutritious, convenient meals to keep you energized on jam-packed days. Well, Factor has you covered as America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service. They can help you fuel up fast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door, literally right to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle while tracking all your holiday to-dos. Now, if you're like me and you're too busy for holiday plans to come and cook, and you want to make sure you stay on track with your dietary plans and your healthy lifestyle, well, guess what? Factor will help that as they can help you skip the extra grocery store, skip the chopping, skip the prepping, skip cleaning up, all the hassle that goes into making food. Well, nutritional quality will come from Factor meals with their fresh, never frozen meals that are ready in just 2 minutes. So all you have to do is heat and enjoy. Enjoy extra convenience any time of the day with an assortment of 45 plus add-ons to suit various preferences and tastes. Choose from breakfast items like our delicious apple cinnamon pancakes, bacon and cheddar egg bites, and potato, bacon, and egg breakfast skillet. Or for an easy wellness boost, try a refreshing beverage option like cold-pressed juices, shakes, and smoothies. Now head to factormeals.com/ChiefsChat50 and use that code ChiefsChat50 to get 50% off. Again, that's code ChiefsChat50 at factormeals.com/ChiefsChat50 to get 50% off. Let's look at some other Chiefs injuries and kind of how that affected the Rashee Rice breakout game and why exactly it almost needed to happen to see Rice really perform to the way he did. So the first one was Kadarius Toney. He was ruled out over the weekend with an ankle and hip injury. And I'm not going to say that Kadarius Toney was a guy who this season has been a force, has been a guy that you see on the stat sheet and you're like, whoa, wow, he's so amazing. I'm not going to say that he's been a guy that's been healthy this entire season. But looking at his stats, there is one thing that I think you can notice. He's been used as somewhat of a gadget guy. He's been used as somewhat of a decoy. And he's been overall a guy that ultimately knows this offense and Patrick has really a relationship with. He trusts Kadarius Toney, at least to an extent. Now, that was obviously hurt in game one when he dropped those couple passes, but it's kind of obvious that he gets some targets and, those targets now went to Rashee Rice. Now, the second one, which may be the bigger one, is Mecole Hardman going on to IR. Now, this is certainly not a good thing because you had to kind of move around your punt returner, your kick returner roles as that kind of switched with Richie James back. He got onto the punt returner role. Skyy Moore and Richie James split the kick returning. But the same thing goes with Mecole Hardman, where basically he hasn't really done much, just like Kadarius Toney. But like with Kadarius, it's a guy that Mahomes trusts. It's a guy that Mahomes has built a relationship with. It's a guy that Mahomes will continue to throw the ball to, even if he is dropping it. And on top of which, not only are Kadarius Toney and Mecole Hardman guys that have been in this Chiefs system that are trusted by Patrick Mahomes, but they are gadget players. Now, why exactly does that affect Rashee Rice? Well, I think he's kind of like that guy. He's got some speed, he's got mobility, and he's got agility just similar to Mecole Hardman. and Kadarius Toney. Now, is it to the level of those two? I don't really know just yet. I think we have to wait and see what exactly his career turns out and pans out to be. But overall, those two guys were a huge kind of, I'm not going to say downgrade, but almost ones that Patrick threw to instead of Rashee. They were taking snaps instead of Rashee. Now, guess what? It was forced to give the ball to Rashee Rice. You had to give the ball to him because he was your only option. There was not much receiving help out there. Now, the third injury I do want to talk about and give a little update is Jerick McKinnon. He did not play yesterday's game due to a groin injury, and it was McKinnon and Kadarius Toney, who Andy Reid said they did not play because they feared that they could not take a hit. Understandable as so, given that you could bring up some guys from the practice squad. But again, if you look at these three players, you see Kadarius Toney, you see Mecole Hardman, you see Jerick McKinnon. These guys, all three of them, I think, led to more snaps for Rashee Rice. And it was very clear to see in the snap count percentage, which we'll get to here in just a moment. But overall, just the feel of the game. You could tell that Rashee Rice was targeted a lot. You could tell that Mahomes trusted Rashee Rice. You could tell that Mahomes overall was just feeling the vibe with Rashee, and ultimately it got better and better, not just throughout the season, throughout yesterday's game. You could tell he trusted him more. You could tell he was going to him more. And after that 39-yard touchdown run on the crosser, that was probably one of the biggest plays of Rashee Rice's career to date, just because that made him really trustworthy to Patrick Mahomes. Now, that snap percentage I talked about. He led all Chiefs receivers in snap percentage by 10%. 10%. The next guy was Justin Watson at 57, Skyy Moore at 57, and then MVS had 53%. Listen, these guys ultimately are not going to be, I'm going to say this, the big all end all of what we say the top wide receivers here with the Chiefs. But there is one good thing. Rashee Rice is finally seeing snap counts. Now, not only was the snap percentage there, but like I mentioned, the stats were there too. 107 yards, 8 receptions, the average at 13.4, plus the touchdown. This guy looked great in all facets of the game. He was on the field for a lot of the game. I'm going to say it. He looked like the best wide receiver on the field. Devontae Adams was there. Jacoby Myers was there. Rashee Rice looked like the best wide receiver on the field yesterday, and I don't think it was necessarily close. Him and Travis also have developed a great connection, so that's good to kind of see them bonding, because guess what? We've seen the connection that Mahomes and Kelsey have. Hopefully that can be the connection Mahomes and Rice have in the near future. Now, there's one last thing I want to talk about on today's show, and it involves not the players, not Patrick Mahomes, but our coach, Andy Reid, Big Red, who now has the most wins in franchise history as the Kansas City Chiefs coach. So a big round of applause here to Andy Reid. Big Red, man, it was just waiting for it. We got to get him to number one in the all-time wins column, and I think he's going to continue to do that here with Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey. They're going to keep winning games for him. Let's congratulate Big Red in the comment section below, Andy Reid, by typing his nickname, Big Red. Get it filled in the comment section of today's video. The coaching GOAT, we know exactly who it is. It's not Bill Belichick. It's Andy Reid. Type Big Red in today's comment section. We really appreciate you watching here. We're trying to get some subs, and they want you to be a part of it. Hit that sub right now, and we appreciate you as always, Chiefs Kingdom. Peace out.